With the MLB trade deadline fast approaching, trade rumors and reports around the entire league continue to ramp up. And in this one, folks, we got some pretty significant updates that we gotta discuss. Stay tuned till the end because the last thing that we're gonna talk about could see the Toronto Blue Jays make a very big move. Let's get straight into it, folks. So to kick things off, let's talk about the Texas Rangers. Texas obviously entered into this season with very high hopes, having just come off of their first World Series title ever. Safe to say, though, that the season has not been going according to plan. At the time of recording this video, the Texas Rangers are currently 42-48 and third in their division, trailing behind Seattle and the Houston Astros. Obviously, this is not where Texas expected to be at this point of the season, and if you can believe it or not, the reigning World Series champions are looking like they're going to sell. MLB.com writes, "It's been a tough year in Texas, and while the Rangers haven't yet made any moves to suggest the front office has made a decision about the deadline, according to USA Today's Bob Nightingale, their opponents are expecting the defending champs to cut their losses. Rival executives reportedly anticipate Texas's cohort of veteran pitchers, Max Scherzer, Michael Lorenzen, Andrew Heaney, David Robertson, and Kirby Yates, to be made available at the deadline. If Texas actually does follow through and trade away their guys, as many executives are anticipating, then we could see some blockbuster deals. Michael Lorenzen, for instance, has been phenomenal this year and has a 3.21 ERA in 87 innings pitched, and considering he's on a one-year deal, he'd be an incredible asset to bring in if you're a contending team looking for pitching. Honestly, folks, with all the arms that they have available, the Texas Rangers could truly monopolize the entire pitching market at this deadline. Basically, if you want a veteran starter, then the Texas Rangers have what you're looking for. Speaking of squads that are looking to sell off quite a few of their pieces, let's talk about the Detroit Tigers. Detroit is once again finding themselves in the middle of a lackluster season, and it's looking increasingly likely that they too will be big-time sellers at the deadline. Sportsnaut writes, "After a promising start to the season, the Detroit Tigers have since been one of the worst teams in baseball in the last 2 months. With no signs of a turnaround, Detroit is expected to operate as sellers once again at the MLB trade deadline." Speaking to MLB Network, John Heyman named Jack Flaherty, Mark Canha, and Gio Urshela as the players most likely to be traded by the Tigers. While there would be significant interest league-wide in a Tariq Skubal trade, Detroit has zero interest in moving him. Jack Flaherty would undoubtedly fetch quite the haul for the Tigers because he's been so good this year, and it looks like they have a very unexpected suitor for him. The Chicago Cubs, who are last place in their division with a record of 42-49, have shockingly been showing interest in Jack Flaherty. According to George Offman, the Cubs are among the teams interested in Detroit Tigers starting pitcher Jack Flaherty. Now, I will be completely honest, folks, this one truly makes no sense to me because the Cubs are effectively already out of the race and Flaherty is on the last year of his deal. The Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Guardians have all been expressing some serious interest in adding pitching this trade deadline, and all of those teams make a lot more sense, in my opinion, than the Chicago Cubs. And speaking of some big-time starting pitching getting traded, let's talk about the Toronto Blue Jays.
Whoa! Time for your daily Betway breather. A quick reminder that the best place to bet is on Betway. Must be 19 years of age or older to play. In collaboration with iGaming Ontario, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
The Blue Jays, as we know, have not been living up to the hype this season and will undoubtedly be sellers at this deadline, but the biggest question for Jays fans is how big is that sell actually going to be? Well, reports have continued to surface about the interest other teams have in Blue Jays starter Chris Bassitt. Recently, Mark Feinsand came out and said Chris Bassitt has been solid over the past 2 months for the underachieving Toronto Blue Jays. But his performance in June surely caught the eye of teams seeking rotation help, which is 100% true. Bassett on the season has a 3.43 ERA over 102.1 innings pitched and has been getting better as the year has gone on. Now, Jon Heyman did come out and speak about the potential of a Chris Bassett trade in terms of a deal with the Orioles, saying the Yankees killer could interest the Orioles, but like Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, he probably stays in Toronto. Even though a Chris Bassett trade is more unlikely than a Yusei Kikuchi or Jimmy Garcia deal, at this point, I certainly would not be writing it off completely. Chris has an additional year left on his contract, and other teams will assuredly be valuing that. There have also been several articles coming out in recent days linking Bassett to teams like the Guardians, the Brewers, and several others. I doubt that Toronto would actually trade him away to the Orioles, but if Toronto really did want to get some serious prospect capital in return without entering into a full-on rebuild, then a Chris Bassett trade could make a lot of sense. But folks, let me know what you think about all this in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, go Jays go!